The fire has gone to embers. The inn is quiet now, save for the creaking of the timber bones in the walls and the distant hoot of an owl, half lulled by the fog pressing against the windows. You lie in bed, wrapped in a woolen blanket that smells faintly of peat smoke and lavender. The pages of a book, open on your chest, flutter slightly in a draft that shouldn't be there. Then 3 knocks, not loud, not frantic, just there, steady, deliberate, like someone who's come a long way and doesn't mind waiting. You sit up, or confused. The knock came not from the inn's front door, but from your own door, your room, 2nd floor. You rise, feet touching the cold floorboards, and crack open the door. A man stands in the hallway, cloaked in damp wool, gloved hands clasped before him. His hood is low, shadowing his face, but you catch a glimpse of white beard and a glint of amber eyes that feel far older than he is. He smells like chimney soot, wet moss, and a hint of myrrh. You are the one who organizes, he says in a voice dry as parchment, but clear. You catalog the unplaceable, the forgotten, the strange. You nod, uncertainly. Your last job had been sorting through a noblewoman's estate porcelain owls, spell-locked letters, and a taxidermy weasel wearing spectacles. You hadn't thought of it as remarkable, just quiet work, careful work. Work you liked, Ed. I have come on behalf of Sir Brynmore. He seeks your services for a very particular inventory. You don't recognize the name. The stranger continues. It is not far. A day's journey. Perhaps less if the road keeps her manners. You glance behind him down the hallway. No one. No footsteps. No signs he entered through the front. You feel the silence pressing back at you, like the fog outside is leaning against the walls, listening. You hesitate. What kind of inventory? A hoard, the man replies. One with a long and delicate memory. Oh. You stare at him. Gold. He tilts his head, considering. Not quite. Your breath catches. You've heard whispers nonsense. Really about the old creatures. The sleeping ones tucked into valleys and cliffside caves, long since passed into legend. But even the mention of a hoard and a Sir Brynmore stirs something in you. Something restless and ancient and curious. And there is something else, an envelope. He extends it toward you. It is made of thick, waxy paper, folded precisely. Your name is written in brown ink with impossible elegance. You open it. Inside is a letter written in delicate looping script. You are cordially invited to catalogue the estate of one Dreig Goch ap Brynmore, for purposes of historical preservation and arcane safeguarding. Standard day rate applies. Meals included. Risk moderate. Curiosity extreme. Enclosed is a token of good faith. You shake the envelope. A small object slips into your palm. It's a coin silver, with the profile of a creature that is neither lion nor serpent. The moment your skin touches it, the air in the room shifts, warmer, like breath from a very large sleeping animal. You look back up. The man waits, unmoving. When you ask, "Oh," he smiles. It's a quiet, unreadable expression. Now, you pack in a daze. Not much a satchel of parchment, charcoal pencils, a tiny pot of ink, your notebook of arcane symbols and idle sketches, a crust of bread, a boiled egg, a small flask of honeyed brandy. The fog outside has thickened to a kind of ghost milk, blanketing the ground in silver. The world has narrowed to the inn's doorway and the lantern held by the cloaked man. He says nothing as you step out into the mist, only hands you a woolen cloak. You take it. The air smells of fern and stone, and something metallic like the taste of lightning before a storm. You follow him down a path you swear wasn't there yesterday. It curves behind the inn, into the woods, under branches that bend obligingly above your heads. The fog doesn't hinder him. It parts before his steps like mist before a sunbeam. Yours? Not so much. You trip on a root and nearly fall into a bramble. But he catches you before you even finish stumbling. Old trees, he murmurs. They like to test visitors. Time stretches. You walk for what feels like hours, or perhaps only minutes. The trees thin. The ground softens. A stream babbles somewhere unseen. You try to ask a question, but the man holds up a hand. Words wander in fog. Save them for stone walls. Oh, eventually, you come to a place where the trees part entirely, forming a ring around a hollow in the earth. In the center of that hollow, wrapped in ivy and moonlight, sits a tower of stone not tall, not ruined, but forgotten. It leans slightly, as if listening to something underground. A single lantern burns in a window on the lower level. Muffled shadows move behind it. Sir Brynmore waits within. The man says, He does not follow you further. You pause at the door, ancient oak, metal fittings etched with runes so old they are almost grown over. You raise your hand to knock, but before you do, the door creaks open. A rush of warm air carries the scent of old paper, candle wax, cinnamon, and something older. You step inside. And so, your inventory begins. Dawn is a pale idea somewhere behind the fog. You can't see it, but you feel it an easing of the cold, a silvery lift to the air, as if the light is waiting politely just beyond your reach. You're in a cart now, wooden, unpainted, the kind that groans with age and memory. Its wheels roll quietly over wet soil, not stone. There's no visible road, just two faint tracks vanishing ahead into the white. Your driver is a woman with graying hair tucked beneath a moss-green cap. She doesn't say her name. She doesn't ask yours. Instead, she clicks softly to the donkey pulling the cart and offers you a hunk of oat cake wrapped in beeswax cloth. You accept it. It tastes faintly of salt and fennel and something unfamiliar, like old time, or the scent of drying books. She smiles when she sees your face twist at the taste. Herb of memory, she says, to keep you from forgetting your way, should the fog turn sideways. You almost ask what she means, but then you spot a small brass bell hanging from the cart's canopy. It jingles, not with bumps, but with thoughts. Every time your mind begins to wander toward old jobs, unfinished letters, half-remembered lullabies, it gives a soft ting, like a librarian reminding you to focus. The journey winds deeper into hills you don't remember seeing on any map. The trees are taller here, strange, spindly things with bark that peels in perfect curls, as if someone had tried to carve them into spirals and changed their mind halfway through. Moss climbs up their trunks like green lace. Birds occasionally flick through the branches, but they never sing. They just watch, quiet-eyed and curious. At one bend, the driver whistles a tune that sounds like a forgotten nursery rhyme, and the fog parts for a moment, revealing a stone bridge with no river beneath it. You cross it anyway. She leans over then, as if sharing a secret. "Don't look back," she says. You don't. An hour later, or a week, maybe the cart stops beside a standing stone, taller than a house. It's streaked with lichen and surrounded by what looks like old boots. Some child, long ago, has tied tiny ribbons to the base. You don't ask why. You just sit there, watching the mist coil around its base like lazy smoke. The driver fishes something from beneath her seat and passes it to you, a thin book, bound in bark. Its title is carved rather than inked. You trace the lettering of places that refuse to be found and the creatures who wait there. Inside, the pages are filled with short entries in fine script. Not facts, exactly more like hints, warnings, poems that don't rhyme. One reads, "If you see a door where no door should be, it is not for you." Another, "Coins that sing should never be spent." And another, "All dragons sleep." Some just more patiently than others. You close the book. The fog begins to lift slightly, not all at once, but like steam off a kettle. You see shapes now, hills dressed in heather, a crooked fence of rusted iron, sheep that blink at you with eyes like wet marbles. One chews on a daisy and looks like it knows more than it should. Ahead, at the edge of a shallow valley, something rises from the ground. It isn't grand, not the castle you half expected, more like a weathered tower stitched into the slope of the hill itself. As though the earth once grew it like a tooth, stone walls, half wrapped in ivy and elderflowers. A single chimney coughing smoke that smells faintly of cloves and damp parchment. A small wooden door, painted red, but faded to rust. The donkey stops. The cart creaks one last time. The driver nudges your arm. "We're here," she says. You climb down. Your boots sink slightly into moss. The bell above the cart gives a final ting sharp. Precise. It stops you mid-step. The driver's eyes soften. "You'll do fine," she says. Then she flicks the reins. The cart turns itself around with dreamlike ease, and before you can say thank you or goodbye, both cart and driver are swallowed once more by the mist. You stand alone now, facing the old tower. Behind it, hills roll endlessly into the pale horizon. A raven sits atop a chimney pot and croaks at you like a disapproving librarian. Somewhere far below, you hear water moving underground, slow and old, like it remembers glaciers. The red door swings open without a sound. You expect creaking, a dramatic groan, but instead, the wood moves like it's sighing in welcome. And in the doorway stands a man in his 60s, short, stout, hair tied back, spectacles perched halfway down his nose. His robes are patched, and his hands are ink-stained. "Ah," he says, as if seeing you exactly as he expected to. "You've arrived." Bit foggier than usual, wasn't it? You nod. "Ah." He steps aside, gesturing. Tea's on, and we've got a bit of sorting to do. Inside, the light is golden. Everything smells of elderflower, graphite, and something metallic just beneath. Not iron, not blood. Something older. As you cross the threshold, the tower sighs again like it knows you. And in that moment, you understand this is not the kind of place you find. It's the kind that finds you. The door closes behind you with a soft thunk, like the closing of a book long overdue. Inside, the tower is warmer than it should be, radiant not just with firelight, but with something older, like memory stitched into the walls. Stone walls curve around you in gentle spirals. They aren't cold and damp, like the ruins you've seen in old ruins and travelers' sketches. These stones are smooth, moss-dusted in the corners, as though they've been gently breathing for centuries. The mortar smells faintly of lavender and parchment. A narrow rug, threadbare and embroidered with constellations, runs along the floor like a map only dreamers can follow. Sir Brynmore leads you through the entryway with a quiet ease. Oh, he walks like someone who has spent most of his life among books and smoky hearths, not hurried, but deliberate, as if the tower has grown around his pace. His robe is the color of wet autumn leaves, cinched at the waist with a belt made from twisted ivy. An inkpot dangles from it, along with 3 silver keys and a single feather blue, striped, impossible. I imagine the journey left you with a question or two, he says, pausing by a coat rack made of antlers, but most things here are better learned sideways. Sideways you echo. He smiles, meaning best not approached head on. He beckons you down a narrow stone hallway that turns once, then again, then forgets which way it meant to go. It opens at last into a small circular room glowing with firelight. This must be the keep's common room, but it feels more like the heart of a very old library that's chosen to disguise itself as a parlor, and there's a hearth, crackling gently. Above it, a large mirror reflects the room except in the reflection. You're wearing a different cloak and appear slightly older. A clock ticks in the corner, but not evenly. It seems to slow down whenever you look directly at it. Shelves curve around the walls, holding not books, but small drawers, each labeled in a looping hand moon seeds. Fur of not yet beasts, and salt from a sea that forgot it was. You say nothing. You just stare, letting the strangeness settle in. Sir Brynmore watches you, then nods with satisfaction. Good. You're not panicking. That's always a relief. You take a breath, steady, What is this place? This he gestures around the room, then upward, toward floors above. This is Caer Withnos, the keep of the lost week. Very few people end up here. Even fewer end up on purpose. And you begin. Was once a steward, now more of a caretaker. Semi-retired. He sits in a chair shaped like an open palm. But you'll meet the proper steward soon. First, tea. The tea is brewed in a copper pot over the hearth. He pours it into 2 mismatched cups, one porcelain with a crack shaped like a river delta, the other carved from horn and wrapped with silver wire. He hands you the horn cup and nods toward a seat shaped like a crescent moon. The tea tastes like smoked rosemary and starlight. It warms your spine. You study the room again. Not a single object here looks mass-produced. Everything feels hand-touched, stitched, or carved, or brewed by someone who believed the item would be needed someday, and even if they didn't know why. Sir Brynmore sips his tea with a contented sigh. Now, he says, you're here because of the Hoard. You nod slowly. A dragon's hoard. He doesn't answer immediately. He just sets his cup down and rises. He walks over to a small cabinet with brass hinges and opens it. Inside is a bundle of scrolls and a peculiar map drawn on what looks like tree bark, with ink that glows faintly green in the dim. He spreads it across the low table before you. The map shows the tower at the center, Caer Withnos. Beneath it, winding stairs descend in spirals so tight they look like fingerprints. Each level is labeled not in numbers, but in symbols: a cracked egg, a spiral shell, a feather on fire. The dragon slumbers deep. He says softly. 7 floors below, the air changes with each step you take downward. And so does everything else. You look Baitishi up, but you're not afraid keeping something like that beneath you. Sir Brynmore chuckles. Afraid, no. Respectful, certainly. But the dragon has been asleep a long time. It wakes only when the hoard is disturbed. Which is why, he adds, giving you a dry smile, we are very, very careful when we catalog. You try to picture what awaits you in the depths. Jewels, maybe. Gold. Or stranger things like the coin you carry now, the one that hums softly whenever your thoughts drift too far from here. Sir Brynmore watches your expression. The hoard is unusual, he admits. It does not contain what most would expect. no mounds of treasure, no rubies or king's crowns. You'll see soon enough. For now, the steward awaits. He leads you through a spiral staircase that wraps like ivy downward. The walls shift from stone to something darker rock, laced with quartz, like veins of frozen moonlight. The air grows cooler, crisper, laced with an odd sweetness, like the scent of ripe plums and distant thunderstorms. You pass doors, each marked with a symbol. One bears the image of a sleeping eye, another a harp with no strings, a third a keyhole with no door. Finally, he stops at a heavy wooden door carved with a single feather inside a circle. He knocks twice. The door opens. Inside, a woman stands beside a long table covered in open ledgers and objects wrapped in velvet. She wears thick glasses and an apron stained with soot and wax. Her hair is bound in copper wire, and a quill twitches behind her ear. She looks up. Her eyes are the exact shade of storm clouds. "You must be the new scribe," she says. Her voice is both tired and delighted. "Come in. We've got much to show you." You step into the room. Behind you, Sir Brynmore closes the door, and for the first time since you arrived, you feel something real settle in your chest. You are no longer a visitor. You are part of the inventory now. The steward's study smells like old paper, warm cloves, and beeswax candles. You recognize the scent of knowledge well-thumbed parchment, drying ink, and the quiet tension of unsolved puzzles. It's not an intimidating room. It's a room that has made peace with chaos. Scrolls are tucked into cubbyholes labeled in languages you don't recognize. Ledgers sit in leaning piles, weighted down by river stones. A sleeping moth the size of your palm is curled gently on the windowsill. The woman gestures for you to sit on a short, three-legged stool beside her work table. You take a moment to glance around. Every surface here is doing something preserving, pressing, drying, transcribing, humming softly under its breath. "I am Nesta," she says, offering a firm handshake. "Steward of the Hoard. Third generation, possibly fifth, if you count my grandaunt twice." You smile, though it comes slowly. "I'm honored to help," you say, "though I'm still not entirely sure what I'll be helping with." Nesta gives a low chuckle and busies herself with the teapot, a lopsided thing shaped like a curled-up lizard. "Cataloging," she says, pouring the tea, very precise, very peculiar, very important, especially with this hoard. You accept your teacup. It's smooth stoneware, speckled, surprisingly warm. The tea smells like rosemary, nettle, and something faintly sweet like burnt sugar and pine needles. The dragon's asleep. Of course, she says. But the hoard is very much awake. And things shift when you're not looking. It's temperamental, emotional, even like a cat with no body. She moves a scroll aside and sets a thick ledger between you. On the cover is a single embossed word in silver leaf index. She opens it carefully, revealing pages of tiny, looping handwriting. Each line has 4 columns item. Location, classification, notes. The entries are strange. 1 hour of midsummer sunlight, sealed in quartz. 5 dreams from children who never existed. A chessboard carved from opposites. Spoon exactly like your grandmother's. You blink at the last one. Nesta leans back, sipping her tea. That one always confuses people, but the hoard pulls things to it. Things people forget. Things they almost lose. It remembers better than we do. You flip another page and see your own handwriting appear for a split second, just one line. Written in your distinctive slant map. Crumpled. Drawn in a dream you don't remember having. You turn the page again quickly. She watches you with mild curiosity. Not unkind. You've brought something in with you already, she says. Most scribes do. You don't answer. You're thinking of the silver coin still in your coat pocket. The one that hums when you sleep. The one that feels like it's watching. Nesta closes the ledger. Cataloging begins tomorrow. Today, we drink tea, and I tell you stories you won't believe until you see them for yourself. Yeah. She pours a second cup, then begins without prompting. There was once a shepherd, she says, who lost his shadow one winter's night. Couldn't find it anywhere. It eventually turned up in the hoard folded neatly beside a pair of unlaced boots that walked without feet. You smile. Another time, she continues, we found a bundle of letters written in a language no one speaks, but every reader insists they were addressed personally to them. We keep them under glass now. Some things you catalog. Some things you just let be. She pauses. frowning gently. Oh, and of course, the bees in the bees. She nods, pointing to a shelf near the ceiling. There, in a wide glass jar, is a swarm of tiny golden bees, suspended mid-flight, their wings vibrating but not moving. They glow faintly, like music trapped in amber. They hum in harmony when it rains, Nesta says. Though no one knows the tune, we suspect it's a lullaby. You sip your tea slowly. You're not sure whether to laugh or just keep nodding. And before you ask, she adds, no, we don't open the vaults without permission. The dragon may be sleeping, but even dreams have boundaries. You glance toward a staircase tucked behind a curtain of hanging glass beads. It descends in careful spirals, the kind that seem to tighten the longer you look at them. What's it like, you ask? The dragon. Nesta doesn't speak for a moment. Then she says, old, enormous, kind, in the way that time is kind indifferent, slow, full of weight. It dreams with its eyes open. Some people think the Hoard is what it dreams about. Others think it's dreaming about us cataloging the Hoard. Either way, she shrugs. It doesn't wake unless something goes wrong. Oh? You lower your cup. And has something gone wrong? She meets your gaze. Her storm-colored eyes are calm, but not easy. Not yet, she says. But lately, the Hoard has been restive. Items vanishing, others shifting places without record. A few echo objects repeating themselves. The last scribe couldn't make sense of it. He left before he was finished. Left you echo. Nesta nods, gently setting her cup down. Left the tower. Left everything. Said he was starting to dream things he didn't recognize as his own. Said the Hoard was pulling memory from him. A silence settles between you. After a time, Nesta stands and pulls a soft woolen blanket from a nearby hook. She drapes it over your shoulders with an oddly maternal air. Rooms are upstairs. Pick the one with the green door. She's been waiting for you. You rise, your legs heavier than before. Sleep presses at your temples, warm and patient. Nesta pats your arm as she passes. Rest now. Tomorrow, we begin with the bottled clouds. They're easier when you're well rested. You climb the stairs, hand tracing the smooth stone railing. You pass doors painted in every color blue, red, gold, one that changes depending on where you stand. The green door is at the end. It opens before you touch it. Inside, your room is simple but strange in that now familiar way. The bed is carved from driftwood. A candle flickers in a dish of salt. A journal already waits on the desk, open to a blank page. A pen nestled beside it. You lie down. The blanket smells of juniper and old ink. Your thoughts drift, and in the quiet between one breath and the next, you hear it. From deep beneath the tower, a sigh, long and low. The dragon dreaming. The next morning arrives like the slow lifting of a veil. There is no trumpet of sunlight, no burst of birdsong, just a subtle brightening behind the curtains and the gentle shifting of air, as if the tower itself is whispering. You may wake now, if you like. You lie for a moment, tangled in warmth and blankets that smell of cedar and beeswax, reluctant to move. It's the kind of morning that doesn't insist on itself. When you rise, the floorboards greet your feet with a soft creak, like the sigh of old wood glad to be remembered. Waiting outside your door is a fresh robe, thick, dark gray, with deep pockets and embroidered cuffs shaped like curling feathers. It fits perfectly, of course. You suspect everything here does, if you let it. Downstairs, the tower feels subtly different. Not quieter, just more aware. The air seems to move with intent, guiding you toward the spiral stairs behind the glass bead curtain. Nesta waits there, holding a lantern. She's dressed today in a coat of many buttons, none of which match. Her hair is tied up in a scarf printed with faded astrological charts. "Hope you slept well," she says, handing you a biscuit that tastes like thyme and orange peel. You nod, biting into it. "I dreamt something," you murmur, "but I can't remember what." She gives a knowing look. That's just the Hoard saying hello, too. And then she gestures downward. The staircase is narrow, winding ape below the tower like a careful thought. The deeper you go, the more the air changes, not colder, exactly, but denser, like it's been waiting here a long time. The lantern glows greenish now, casting shimmering arcs of light across the stone. Strange markings begin to appear along the walls, spirals within spirals. Thin lines like musical notations. Starbursts that seem to shift when you aren't looking directly at them. You descend through silence. Not the absence of sound, but a kind of presence in itself. A velvet hush. A breath held for centuries. Finally, Nesta stops in front of a great wooden door reinforced with black iron and overgrown with fine moss. "This," she says softly, "is the vault." She presses her palm to the center of the door. No lock, no keyhole, just her hand and a long moment. Then a slow groan of hinges and a breath of warm air, earthy, metallic, and faintly floral. The door swings inward. The cavern opens like a cathedral. It is not man-made. The stone arches rise and rise and rise, curving overhead like the bones of something impossibly large. Bioluminescent moss grows in soft constellations across the ceiling, casting a gentle blue light. And in the center of it all, coiled in a circle the size of a small village, is the dragon. You forget how to breathe. It is not gold-scaled or red-eyed or spined with a fury like the legends. It is older than that. Moss grows on its back. Vines trail from its folded wings. A small tree has taken root just above its shoulder blade, bearing fruit shaped like tiny clocks. Its color is hard to name dark, shimmering with hints of copper and stone. Its horns curl like rams, chipped and etched with runes. Its talons rest against the stone floor with a weight that suggests eternity. But it is asleep, deeply, entirely. Its massive chest rises and falls slowly, each breath a quiet storm. The sound it makes is not a snore, but a kind of resonant hum like the song of tectonic plates shifting far below the earth. Nesta watches you watch it. They call it Erether, she says, though names change, and it's not fond of being summoned by them. You nod slowly. It's bigger than you imagined, she offers. Quieter than the stories. You nod again, Higdon. There's no need to speak here unless the Hoard speaks first, she says, guiding you forward. Just walk gently. Think gently. And it will let you be. You step carefully, boots soundless against the moss-padded stone. The Hoard begins to come into view, not gold, not jewels, not piles of treasure, but objects. Shelves and alcoves and mounds of them, stretching like a library left to bloom. Jars filled with shimmering mist. Instruments made from wind and spider silk. Bones carved into delicate music boxes. Puzzles without solutions. Shoes that move ever so slightly on their own, as if trying to walk somewhere they can't remember. And nestled in the center of it all, surrounded by candles that burn without flame, a simple pedestal. Upon it rests a single black feather, longer than your arm, and beside it, a brass label. You lean closer. The label reads, "The last thought of a fallen star." You stare at it for a long time. "This is what you're here to catalog," Nesta says. "Not just things, but their intention. What they mean, what they remember." You look around, overwhelmed. How many items are there? Nesta doesn't answer right away. Then she says, "More than there should be, and fewer than we'll ever understand." She leads you past shelves labeled by emotion, sorrow, longing, laughter. You pass a bottle sealed with wax labeled for when the moon forgets her name. Another item is a wooden box marked simply, "Please do not remember me." None of this feels like madness. Not here. Not with the dragon sleeping beside it all. Curled around memory like a mother protecting a nest of eggs. You pause at one particularly strange object, a mirror. Perfectly clear, though your reflection in it is 3 seconds behind. Nesta smiles faintly. Some things reflect time the way others reflect light. You glance at her. What happens if the dragon wakes? She doesn't meet your gaze this time. Then we hope the hoard is enough to comfort it. You both stand still. Then, listening. The dragon shifts slightly in its sleep, tail curling tighter. A soft breeze stirs the room that doesn't come from any door or vent. And you realize something. This isn't just a hoard, it's a dream. One being dreamt in full, by a creature too large for the world above. You walk deeper into the cavern, away from the dragon's immense, slumbering form. It breathes slowly, steadily, as if exhaling centuries into the stillness. The hoard surrounds it in wide circles, concentric and seemingly unending, like a solar system built of forgotten things. And none of it glitters. There are no piles of gold, no gleaming chalices or jewel-studded crowns. Instead, the first thing you pass is a collection of glass bottles, each no larger than a pear. Inside each one, sealed with wax and twine, floats a miniature cloud. Some swirl with thunder. Others are still and pearly, softly glowing from within. A few hold weather that defies logic, tiny snowflakes that fall upward. Breezes that trace spirals on the glass from the inside. Nesta kneels beside them. adjusting one gently. "These are the storm jars," she says. "Collected over 3 ages from skies that didn't belong to us. That one there," she points, "was gathered from a kingdom that never made it past the dreaming stage. You crouch beside her, fascinated. "And what do I do with them? Just write them down." She smiles softly. "No. You listen to them. Name what you hear. The Hoard responds best to attention, not labels." You open your satchel, draw out a fresh page, and begin. Storm jar number 3 breathes like wind through dry reeds. Smells faintly of linden blossom and iron. Contained thunder responds to humming in D minor. It feels strange recording sound and scent rather than weight and measure, but somehow it makes perfect sense. You move on. Oh, the next cluster is a pile of books, but not the sort you'd find in any library. Their titles are embossed in unfamiliar alphabets, or in pictograms that shift when you stare too long. One opens only when held upside down. Another hums when touched, vibrating with the low, wordless sound of someone reciting a bedtime story in a language you've never learned but somehow understand. One thin volume floats slightly above its shelf, pages fluttering in an unfelt breeze. It has no cover and no title. Inside, a single sentence, written on every page, changing ever so slightly each time you blink. Nesta taps that one. The book of almost happened things. Records every path not taken. Careful with it. Too much reading, and you'll forget which version of yourself you are. You step back. Quickly. Beyond the books lies a low platform of polished stone. Laid out across it musical instruments. But they're all wrong. A cello strung with strands of shadow. A flute made of glass that plays no sound but leaves the scent of oranges in the air. A drum with no skin, yet when struck, it echoes like the sea in winter. You stare, enchanted. Nesta walks past, casually plucking a string on a harp that appears to be made of dried flower stems. The note it makes is soft blue, not audible, just felt. The dragon doesn't care for gold, she explains as you follow her through rows of curiosity. Gold doesn't dream. Gold doesn't change. She gestures to a shelf shaped like an open hand, upon which sits a row of small, identical bottles. They are labeled Laughter, age 7, inside each. A single bubble floats endlessly, never popping. One gives a soft giggle when your shadow passes near it. They're memories. she murmurs. Salvaged from the wind, from the corners of things people forgot to cherish. You turn to her, quietly awed. It hoards emotion. She considers possibly, or meaning, or possibility. It's never been quite clear. All we know is that when the dragon sleeps, the hoard grows. And it grows not with things taken, but things given up. There's a section you're not allowed to approach yet, marked off by a curtain of hanging bells. Nesta doesn't speak of it. You catch a glimpse beyond a table covered in cloth, shaped like a giant hand with its palm up. On it, something blurry, as though it resists being seen clearly. You glance too long and feel your thoughts tilt, just slightly. Nesta catches your wrist gently. That's for later, she says, when the Hoard trusts you. You nod, shaken. At the very center of one aisle is a child's toy worn. Simple, a wooden horse on wheels, its paint faded. It rests beside a cracked teacup. A glove with no pair, and a photo frame with no picture inside. Nesta kneels to brush dust from the corner of the shelf. These are the oldest pieces, she murmurs. Offerings made without realizing they were offerings, dropped behind dressers, left on train platforms, forgotten in attic boxes. Not lost, just unclaimed. The dragon shifts. Slightly. A single gust of warm air stirs the chamber. The flameless candles flicker in unison, like held breath. You feel something stir behind your ribs. Not fear, not even awe, gratitude. The Hoard isn't dangerous. It's sacred. It's memory. Curated with reverence by a dreaming being too large for language. And you are here to listen. At last, Nesta guides you to a desk near the edge of the cavern. Upon it are stacks of parchment, black ink, and a ledger that smells like cinnamon and stone. This, she says, is where you begin. Describe, interpret, wonder. That's your job. You sit slowly. Before you, a single item is placed to start with a folded letter sealed with wax shaped like an open eye. You stare at it, and you hear very faintly your own name spoken, not aloud, but from the Hoard itself, somewhere in the deepest curve of the cave. Just once. Then silence. The dragon sleeps on. The desk is older than any tree you've ever seen, no. Its surface is dark, worn smooth, from centuries of elbows and quills and careful fingertips. Someone once carved a constellation into the upper corner, 7 dots connected by graceful lines. And beside it, a single word in an unknown script that seems to shimmer only when you're not looking at it. You sit. The parchment before you smells faintly of inkberries and beeswax. Your quill, already sharpened, waits like it knows what you'll write. Next to it, the folded letter, sealed with a wax stamp in the shape of an open eye. The paper is heavy, a little warm. Nesta stands behind you, arms folded. As you hesitate, no rush, she says gently. But it's polite to read what the Hoard gives first. You nod, breaking the seal. Inside, a single sentence. This was the letter you meant to write, but never did. That's all. No signature, no date. Just that. The ink is dry and brownish black, written in a hand that is familiar. So familiar, in fact, that your chest tightens. You glance up. Is this? Probably. Nesta says, as if she already knows. The Hoard finds what we misplace inside ourselves. Too. You place the letter gently beside your ledger and begin your first official entry. Item 0. Letter of unwritten intention. Description: folded parchment sealed with an eye-shaped wax stamp. Inside, a single sentence appears. The sentence changes depending on the reader. Scent dust, lavender. Faint citrus. Emotional weight 4.3. See scale. Appendix 3. Suggested. Classification ephemera. Personal memory echo. Notes avoid reading twice. Causes a brief sensation of déjà vu, followed by gentle melancholy and clarity. Do not file near regret-based objects. Store separately from musical items. Possibly semi-sentient. You exhale. Your hand tingles faintly. The Hoard has accepted your first entry. The next object arrives with no footsteps. It's just there, on the edge of your desk. A glove. Left-handed, child-sized, knitted from thick, clumsy wool in a shade that used to be red. One of the fingers is too short, another oddly long, You turn it over. Inside is a name tag, barely legible. You feel a memory try to rise a playground. A snowy hill, you don't chase it. You just observe, huh? Item 002 Mismatched Memory Glove. Description: woolen glove. Size small. Handcrafted. Imperfect proportions. Contains faint trace of snowflakes and cinnamon. Emotional weight 5.1. Suggested classification sentimentals. Childhood ghosts. Notes may hum lullabies when left alone. Emits warmth when held with both hands. Pairs with item 0137. Lost mitten in a hollow tree. Not yet relocated. No known danger. Your quill glides easier now, he. The Hoard. You begin to understand. Doesn't want logic. It wants attention. Thoughtfulness. Witness. The next object arrives with a whisper, a sound like a curtain brushing against stone. It's a matchbox, carved from bone, etched with a single word in a forgotten dialect after. Inside, no matches, just a small flame, floating steadily inside, contained, yet alive. Item 003. Matchbox of unlit flame. Description: bone, matchbox. Empty of sticks, but holds a single steady flame. Flame neither spreads nor dims. It responds to silence. Scent: charred rosemary. Emotional weight 7.4. Suggested classification: mystical relics, quiet fire. Notes: do not place near objects containing sorrow. Flame occasionally pulses with heartbeat rhythm. Suspected to be part of something larger. Handle with reverence. Hours pass, or none at all. The light in the Hoard never shifts. Time has its own moods here. You begin to settle into a rhythm. Some entries come easily, a faded music box that plays only when no one listens. A pair of spectacles that let you see the names of stars long dead. A spoon that remembers the taste of a lost recipe. Others challenge you. A map of a place that never existed, which refolds itself into new shapes when you look away. A pocket watch that ticks backward only when someone in the room is thinking of someone they've lost. A pair of shoes that walk in circles when left on stone. Trying to retrace steps you've never taken. Nesta checks in now and then, saying little. Once, She leaves a sandwich by your elbow, bread warm, filled with something soft and salty and just enough to remind you of being a child on a rainy afternoon. Yeah, you write until your hands cramp. And still, the Hoard offers. But not too fast. Not all at once, As if it's trying to see how gently you can hold its stories. At last, the final object for the day appears. A single drop of rain, suspended in a cube of clear glass, unmoving. When you hold it, you hear faint thunder in the distance inside the glass. You don't understand how, but it feels personal, like a sigh you once tried to hold in, or a goodbye that never left your lips. Item 0012, Suspended Farewell. Description 1. Droplet of rain, held mid-fall in a glass cube. Emits low thunder when held. May smell like different rainstorms to different catalogers. Emotional weight 8.0. Suggested classification: weathered memory, contained emotion. Notes requires regular silence. Will crack if asked to explain itself. Don't file beside joyful objects, they cancel each other. You set down your quill. 12 items. 12 stories. You are full and emptied all at once. Later. Nesta finds you still seated. Eyes half closed. One hand resting on the entry log. She smiles gently. Well, she says, the Hoard likes you. Ooh. You look up. How can you tell? She points behind you. The dragon, still asleep, has shifted slightly. One wing now curls closer to your desk. Like a cat tucking in its favorite blanket. Night inside the keep doesn't fall so much as it unfolds gently, softly, like a parchment being turned by invisible hands. There's no darkness in the Hoard chamber. Not really. The glow of moss on the ceiling and the slow breathing warmth of the dragon provide a light unlike any you've known before dim. Golden green, and somehow ancestral. You linger near your desk longer than planned. The parchment before you curls gently at the edges. As if preparing to sleep itself, Nesta has long since retreated upstairs. Her footsteps a memory now. The Hoard is quiet. except something has changed. You notice it first not in the air, but in your chest. A pressure not painful, not urgent, just present, like the weight of a dream right before it begins. And then it happens. The dragon exhales. Not just breath, but something else. Something soft and uncontainable. Something like thought. Oh. The air ripples, though nothing moves. Your lantern sways, but there's no breeze. A note, not a sound, but a note hums through the floor. The desk, your bones. It's low, warm, and wide, like the color amber turned into music. And from the far side of the cavern, just beyond the curtain of bells Nesta told you not to pass, you hear them, whispers, not menacing, not eerie, just urgent in a quiet, familiar way, like someone trying to remember a story they once knew by heart. You stand slowly, You don't go to the curtain. You don't dare. But you do listen. The whispers rise and fall, layered and overlapping. Some are too faint to catch. Others are clear. The coins are listening now. Don't step between the mirrors on the 13th step. She left her name behind, tucked in the pages. The sky isn't where we left it. You shiver, but not from cold. The Hoard is speaking. No, the dragon is dreaming aloud. And its dream is leaking. You return to your desk instinctively, unsure what else to do. You pick up your quill. You don't write catalog entries. No. You begin writing what you hear. The words flow like mist on water. In the 7th breath, the mountain remembered its own bones. The child in the painting moved when no one was watching. There is a word no tongue can say, but the Hoard knows it still. You don't know what any of it means, but it feels true. The parchment seems to drink in your words eagerly, curling slightly each time you pause as though waiting for more. The quill never runs out of ink. Your hand moves like it isn't entirely your own. And then the whisper change. They gather. Focus. One phrase rises from the rest. louder, stronger, echoing between your ribs. The forgotten door is waking. You freeze. Across the cavern, the dragon shifts again. Not much, just a twitch of its claw, a rustle of moss on its back, but it's enough to send a tremor through the stone floor. You look down at the parchment. The phrase you just heard is already written there. Your hand is still holding the quill, but you don't remember writing it. You whisper, "What door?" Silence answers. And then a pulse, a single, slow throb through the stone, like a heartbeat felt through a hand pressed to the earth. Then another. Then stillness again. The dragon dreams on. You don't sleep in your room that night. You pull a blanket from the nearby shelf, a woven thing of soft silver thread and dusk blue wool, and curl into the reading nook tucked beside your desk. The whispers don't return, but the warmth of the hoard keeps you grounded, steady, cradled in something ancient and strangely tender. Sometime in the middle of not quite sleep, you hear a gentle flutter. You crack open one eye. A page has fallen from a nearby shelf and landed beside you. You unroll it slowly. It's a sketch done in fine charcoal lines, delicately smudged with thumb-blended shadow. The drawing is unmistakably the hoard chamber. The dragon lies coiled at the center. But something is different. There, drawn behind the dragon's tail, is a door. Not part of the chamber you've seen. A tall, narrow door of stone and ashwood, overgrown with vines bearing star-shaped flowers. It's labeled in a hand you don't recognize. Door for what was once meant. You stare at the drawing for a long time. Then you set it aside and finally let yourself drift. You awaken to footsteps. Nesta stands beside you, a steaming mug in one hand, a plate of toast in the other. She glances at the page on your desk, the phrases you wrote, the sketch. Her eyes narrow. Not suspicious, just thoughtful. Like she was hoping you wouldn't see it yet, But she says nothing. Instead, she offers you the mug. You take it gratefully. It's something warm and sweet-spiced oat milk, maybe, or thinned honey and thyme. You ask. Softly posto lui nesta. Is there really a door? She doesn't answer right away. Oh. Then some say there is, some say there was, and some say the dragon dreams it into being when the hoard grows restless. You grip the mug tighter, restless, like now. Nesta sighs. It's dreaming aloud. That hasn't happened in a long time. She walks to the edge of the desk and gently runs her finger along the last sentence you wrote. The forgotten door is waking. Do you think it's dangerous, you ask? She looks toward the sleeping dragon. Her eyes soften. I think, sometimes, when a dragon dreams of doors, it's not because it wants to leave. It's because something is trying to come in. The next day, the hoard seems to be humming. Not loudly, not clearly, just beneath the quiet. You feel a thread of sound like distant bells underwater. You wake with the faint sense that your dreams had verses in them, and that you forgot to sing along. Oh. When you return to your desk, Nesta is already waiting with an odd bundle in her arms. It's wrapped in linen printed with a pattern of interlocking hexagons and smells of rain and iron. She lays it gently on your desk. The hoard gave these back, she says, which is unusual. You raise an eyebrow. Gave them back. Nesta nods. They were once lost, or maybe offered. But last night, they arrived here again, right on the staircase, neatly arranged in the shape of a treble clef. You blink. What are they? She smiles, then pulls away the linen wrap. Inside Pebbles, a dozen of them, small, smooth, perfectly ordinary to the eye. One is rose pink, another dark green with veins of quartz. A few are black as slate. Each is worn down like a memory shaped by river water. You pick one up. It vibrates softly. Not with heat or motion, but with song. A single note thrums inside your palm, gentle, steady, felt more than heard. You lift another pebble. This one hums in a different pitch, quieter and lower. The moment you hold them together, the tones merge, forming a harmony that sends a pleasant tingle up your arm. These are the singing pebbles, Nesta says. Softly now. They aren't made. They arrive, usually in groups. Never the same notes twice. No one knows what they're singing to. You arrange 5 of them on the desk. Their hums shift as you change their positions, forming tiny chords. Subtle changes in harmony. You add a 6th, and the sound becomes unexpectedly wistful. A 7th suddenly. Joy flickers through the notes like sunlight through a curtain. You sit very still. It's not just music. It's emotion rendered in tone. They're not always this active, Nesta says, watching with interest. The last time they sang this clearly, the moon turned silver in the lake for a week. You ask, do they respond to people? She shrugs. They respond to presence. Some say they're part of the Hoard's heart. Some say they're the dragon's memories. Dropped like seeds. You touch the pink stone again. It's warm. A melody forms not like a song you know, but like a story told in sound. And you realize something remarkable. Each pebble is singing a different part of the same song, not a chaotic chorus, but a unified whole, like branches of a single tree stretching in different directions, yet rooted in the same soil. You begin to record. Item 0013, Singing Pebbles, set of tway. Description: 12. River-worn stones of various hues. Emit sustained harmonic tones when held or arranged. Songs shift depending on order and proximity. Tactile note: Pebbles grow warm when cradled gently. Go silent if gripped too tightly. Scent when warmed. Petrichor. Candle smoke. Pressed lavender. Emotional weight: 6.7, 8.9 fluctuates. Suggested classification: sonic relics, memory chimes. Notes: may trigger lucid dreaming. Avoid storing near clocks, mirrors, or unresolved questions. Suspected link to deeper Hoard consciousness. Possibly sentient in collective. Nesta reads over your shoulder. Nice classification, she says. Especially the unresolved questions bit. One apprentice once asked the Pebbles what their purpose was. They didn't sing for a year after that. You chuckle. Do you think they're alive? I think they remember what it feels like to be, she says, You try rearranging the stones into a circle. The tone becomes more searching. Then a spiral. It calms, turning into a lullaby. You lean closer, and you hear it. One of the pebbles, the dark green one, sings your name. not aloud, not in language, but in the way the note lifts on the second beat, the way it pulls slightly left of center. It's like being called gently by someone who knew you long ago. You swallow hard. The Hoard is watching. No, listening. You experiment for hours. Each new arrangement reveals something else, a memory you didn't know you had. A sensation like standing under rain in another lifetime. A tug of sorrow, followed by laughter that feels oddly familiar. Eventually, you create a sequence, 8 pebbles in a line, forming a scale of rising tones that end on a note so soft it makes your breath catch. Nesta claps quietly. You've made a door shape, she says. Oh. You blink. A what? A tonal configuration. The Hoard sometimes responds when the pebbles form certain patterns. She points. That one. That shape there. It resembles the sound map used by the vault keepers. You glance again. It's just pebbles, arranged like an elongated arch, with a small gap in the center. Suddenly, all 12 stones vibrate in unison. A chord swells full, gentle, immense. The cavern around you seems to lean closer. And for a moment, just a moment, you feel as though something else is listening from far below, deeper than the dragon, beneath even the bones of the tower. Then the sound stops. The pebbles fall silent. All 12 turn cold. Nesta looks around warily. That, she says carefully, was not normal. What? You feel no fear. Only the sense that the Hoard just answered back. That night, before sleep, you place one of the pebbles beside your bed. It hums faintly as you drift off. And in your dream, you hear a song soft, endless, and made of memory. Someone sings beside you, though you never see their face. Just before you wake, a single lyric rises clear. Follow the note that doesn't echo. That's where the door waits. You wake breathless, eyes wide. The pebble is still warm. You wake to smoke, but not the dangerous kind. It curls like ink in water, silver-threaded and slow-moving, pooling gently in the vaulted hollows of the Hoard chamber. It doesn't sting your eyes. It smells faintly of myrrh. lemon rind, and wet ash. The kind of scent that makes you think of stories told in low voices by dying firelight. The singing pebble you placed beside your bed is cool now, silent, and the dream you had about the note that doesn't echo already feels like it's fading behind a curtain you can't pull aside. You dress quickly, wrap yourself in your robe, and hurry down to the desk. But something's different, The smoke is only in one part of the chamber. It pours, slowly and silently, from the mouth of a long, unused pipe embedded in the stone floor near the section labeled Temporal Oddities. Nesta never mentioned that pipe before. You'd thought it decorative, some forgotten bit of architecture in a room built from memory and myth. Now it breathes. Nesta arrives moments later, barefoot and serious, her scarf askew and one sleeve still half-pinned. She carries a brass lantern filled with softly glowing salt crystals and holds it out toward the smoke. The crystals dim, just slightly, the moment they touch the edge of the fog. She frowns. Smoke message. She says softly, You blink. That's a thing. She nods, already rolling up her sleeves. Rare. The Hoard only releases smoke like this when something has changed, or is about to change. It's usually a warning. You both kneel. Oh. The smoke curls tighter, drawing shapes that vanish as quickly as they form loops, lines, starbursts. A figure that might be a key or might be a tongue, and then words, faint but real. They form in mid-air, letter by smoky letter. Do not trust the reflection with eyes. It watches for the door. It is not you. Oh. You and Nesta both inhale. Oh. The smoke shudders and the letters dissolve, There's a pause. You can hear the dragon breathing again in the far distance. You ask. Reflection with eyes. Nesta swears under her breath. I thought we'd sealed that mirror 2 years ago. Oh. You stare at her. Mirror. She stands, brushing ash from her knees. There's a looking glass buried in one of the deeper vaults. It doesn't reflect what you expect. It reflects what the Hoard fears. It's clever, subtle. It finds forms that you'll recognize, trust, and then it watches back. Your throat tightens. Why would the Hoard keep something like that? It didn't choose to, she says. Some things smuggle themselves in. Hitchhike inside forgotten objects. They wait until the Hoard's dreaming deeply. Then they wake up. You think of the echoing phrases, the singing pebbles, the shifting warmth of the Hoard's breath. Something has changed. Something old is now awake, and it's looking for the door. You follow Nesta to a side chamber sealed by a wooden gate carved with ivy and constellations. She unlocks it with a bone key from around her neck, muttering something in a language you don't recognize but your bones seem to understand. Inside shelves and crates marked not to be sorted. She guides you down a narrow aisle lined with dust-covered jars and velvet-wrapped bundles. At the end, under a dusty sheet, stands a tall object shrouded in thick fabric and fastened with silver twine. This is the mirror, she says, technically called the glass of doubled intent. You whisper, has it ever shown someone real? Nesta's face tightens. Yes. It once showed me myself. Only older, tired, kind, but wrong. Just wrong enough that I wanted to ask her everything. She swallows. She nearly convinced me to leave. Said she knew where the Hoard's first vault was buried, that she'd seen the door. But she wasn't me. Not really. You reach out toward the sheet. Nesta grabs your wrist. Firm. Not unless it calls to you. You pause. What if it already has? She lets go slowly. Then we do this carefully. Back in the main chamber, the smoke has settled. You begin reviewing the latest entries, checking to see if anything's shifted. They have 3 of the singing pebbles have turned from warm to cold and emit no sound. The matchbox with the single flame now glows faintly violet at its core, and 1 ledger page item, 005. A broken compass now contains a note in your handwriting you don't remember writing. The needle doesn't point north anymore. It points home. You touch the edge of the page. A flicker like memory trying to be born flares behind your eyes. You see a forest shrouded in fog. A door carved into the side of a hill, outlined in flickering gold. A voice yours, but older whispering, not yet. And then it's gone. You sit back, heart pounding. The Hoard is trying to show you something, eh? That evening, Nesta leaves you alone with a wrapped parcel. It arrived just now, she says. Unmarked. Hoard delivery. You unwrap it slowly. Inside a mirror, small, handheld, oval, with a twisted iron frame. You don't remember cataloging it. You tilt it slightly. At first, nothing would. Just your reflection. But your reflection doesn't blink when you do. Your stomach drops. The eyes in the mirror look exactly like yours, same color, same expression, but deeper somehow. Less surprised, more expectant. You stare. It stares back. And then the mirror version of you smiles. You do not smile. And softly, behind your ears, in a voice shaped like breath on glass, you hear, "The door is almost ready." Oh, you drop the mirror. Oh, it doesn't break. The reflection lingers for just a second longer, even as the glass lies face down. Then silence. The hoard exhales. Oh, and the dragon stirs. You wake to a sound that isn't quite sound. Not footsteps. Not whispers. Not wind yet. A subtle shifting. A quiet, deliberate turning. Like a library deciding to change its mind. When you rise and step into the hoard chamber, the change is immediate. It is not where you left it. The tall row of shelves marked vessels of longing is gone, replaced now by a low meadow of moss-covered stones. The corridor, once lined with symphonic clocks, has collapsed inward, becoming a spiral stair that disappears beneath a mirrored floor. Even your desk has moved. Not by force, not randomly. As if the hoard simply reconsidered its shape overnight. Your catalog entries are intact. The singing pebbles sit in their velvet pouch, quietly pulsing in tandem again, as if they've been calmed by something or warned. The small mirror, the one with the eyes, lies wrapped in 3 layers of cloth and stored inside a locked drawer you reinforced with salt and knots and iron thread. It doesn't hum anymore. But you still feel it watching. Nesta appears beside you as if conjured by your unease. "Don't be alarmed," she says, though her voice carries an undertone of nerves. The Hoard does this when it needs to protect something. You glance around. Protect what? She hesitates. You. The door. Maybe both, eh? You ask. Does it do this often? Only 3 times in my memory, she says. Once after the weaver left, once during the fire thief incident, and once when someone tried to wake the dragon early at... Your stomach nods. And now... She doesn't answer, but instead hands you a new parchment slip, warm from her pocket. Vault 12B, newly accessible. Items previously suppressed. Approach with full intent. Op. You frown. Suppressed. Nesta nods. Some parts of the Hoard are too moot, too unfinished. They get buried until the time is right. Apparently, now is the time. She points behind you. Where there was once a wall lined with star maps, there is now a door. Tall, copper hinged, covered in etched spirals that look like sound waves frozen mid-echo. You walk to it slowly. The door feels hesitant, as if it's not entirely solid. Your fingers pass just over the spirals. They vibrate faintly, like harp strings plucked from another room. You press the handle. It opens inward, not with a creak, but a sigh. Inside the vault of unfinished things, the light inside is dim and golden, like the sun filtered through old parchment. Shelves drift instead of standing still. Nothing is fixed. Items float an inch or 2 above their surfaces, hovering, humming, slightly undone, eh? You pass. A book that rewrites its title every 5 seconds, eh? A violin strung with silence, eh? A quill with no nib, weeping ink into a jar labeled regret, eh? A chessboard mid-game where both sides are missing their kings. None of these are labeled, none have been catalogued. The air feels thicker here, like breathing thought. And at the far end of the vault sits a circular table. Upon it, a map. It's unlike any map you've seen. Drawn in charcoal, blood ink, and pressed lavender petals. It shows a coastline that resembles the Hoard chamber itself, arched bays. Deep ridges, scattered shelves like islands, but where the central dragon usually curls in the middle, this map shows a spiral, labeled the memory that walks. You don't know what that means. But the moment you touch the map, it changes. A faint glow blooms in the lower corner. New lines scrawl themselves into being a forest of symbols. A path of dots leading to a mark shaped like an eye. Below that, words appear. The door walks now. Follow the parts that never finished. You stare. Behind you, the vault rearranges again. The ceiling breathes. A low humming begins. From the shelves, several objects float gently to the table. A teacup, cracked but full of steam that smells like rosemary and ink web. A single boot, muddy and humming a sea shanty in a child's voice. A scroll tied with 3 strings, each a different color of twilight. Each object vibrates with unspent intention. Nesta stands in the doorway. It's making a path for you. You swallow to the door. She nods. Or to the thing that's watching it. Then you begin cataloging it. It feels different here, like documenting possibility, not history. Item 0154. Teacup of interrupted conversation. Description: white porcelain cup. Cracked but stable. Emits fragrant steam. Warm to touch. Associated with comfort and unfinished farewells. Adieu. Emotional weight 7.2. Note sip at own risk. May cause temporary memory of a conversation you were never present for. Possibly tied to Time Stutter Field near Vault 6. Item 155. Child's sea boot. Description: small leather boot, size unknown, still damp, sings, emits the sound of distant gulls when inverted. Emotional weight 8.0. Notes: highly responsive to proximity with singing pebbles. Vibrates when near mirrors. Do not pair with compass of regret. Item 156. Scroll of 3 twilights. Description unknown. Script: paper glows faintly. Tied with cords matching the color of dusk. Storm and sleep. Emotional weight 9.1. Notes cannot be opened until all three cords untie themselves. Not recommended for lonely readers. As you write, the vault continues to evolve. Shelves float closer. Light bends. Walls ripple like paper dipped in warm tea. And with each new entry, the hoard shifts to accommodate you. Your path becomes clearer, not straight, but present. Leading deeper, leading inward, leading toward a shape at the far end of the vault, half shrouded in cloth. You approach. It's a mirror, tall, covered in frost. Its surface stirs not with reflection, but with motion. Not you, not you, And then, behind the glass, a whisper so soft you almost miss it. It found the door first. The mirror doesn't move. It breathes. Behind its fogged surface, shapes pulse slowly, like candlelight trapped in snow. Something stirs inside, not a reflection. Not quite, but the intention of one. Not your face. Not yet. But the suggestion of waiting. You back away, Behind you, the hoard shifts. A soft creak in the stone above. A tremble in the moss underfoot. The scent of scorched lavender drifts into the vault of unfinished things. Warm air brushes your cheek, and with it, the unmistakable sound of a breath drawn in by something vast. Something ancient. Something waking. Nesta finds you standing in the threshold, eyes still fixed on the mirror. She's carrying a lantern now, not the usual brass one, but a circular frame of woven metal holding a flame shaped like a feather. You heard it, didn't you? She says softly. You nod. It's stirring. Then we have less time than we hoped. Her expression is unreadable. Once the dragon begins to wake, the hoard's order will collapse. What's unfinished will become urgent. What was sleeping may no longer be kind. You look toward the shelves behind you floating, pulsing, quiet but changed. I thought the dragon only woke when called, you say. Nesta's jaw tightens. Sometimes it hears itself calling, in the voices of what it's lost. You realize she means the dream echoes, the mirrored warnings, the pebbles humming door shapes into the air. It isn't just the Hoard reaching for the door, own. It's the dragon dreaming its way toward it. She leads you back through the shifting vault, navigating by scent and sound and the subtle tug of the Hoard's memory. The path is different now. The staircase to the ledger room is gone, replaced by a corridor of hanging bells. When you pass beneath them, they do not ring, but you feel their tone in your ribs. Each one sounds like a different memory you never had. A voice calling your name in a long-forgotten dialect. A fire crackling in a stone hearth under starlight. Laughter behind a curtain just before dawn. At the end of the corridor, you arrive at the dragon's chamber. And for the first time, it's not sleeping. It has not moved far, but its wings twitch now, folded high against the chamber walls, shivering like sails in a breeze from beneath the earth. One golden eye opens not fully, but just enough to reveal the fire burning deep within. And though its mouth remains closed, you hear it. Where is the door I dreamed? The voice bypasses your ears. It speaks to your bones, to the marrow of your memory. Nesta bows low. You do, too, though not by choice. Gravity bends when the dragon speaks. The eye fixes on you. You think of the singing pebbles, the note that didn't echo, the mirror that waited and smiled and said it found the door first, Monet. You swallow, oh. I don't know where the door is. You whisper, oh. And the dragon's breath rushes outward in a soundless exhale, full of ash and a grief so deep it shakes the ink in your veins. Then help me remember, oh. Nesta steps forward. She produces a small crystal from her sleeve. Shaped like a spiral shell, it pulses softly in her hand. You have one chance. She murmurs, if the dragon fully wakes before the door is sealed, everything will loosen. You frown, loosen. The Hoard, memory, time, you. Her eyes shine. It doesn't guard the treasure. The treasure is the dream. If it wakes, it forgets. and when it forgets, it lets go away. She places the crystal in your hand. It's warm, and inside it you see flickers snippets of dreams, a girl feeding stars to a cat, a staircase made of feathers, your own hand holding a quill made of breath. It's a mnemonic seed, she explains. Take it into the vault. Let it remember through you. Oh, you return to the vault of unfinished things. The mirror stands where you left it. Only now, there is someone inside it. It looks like you, exactly like you. Except for the eyes. They do not blink. They do not breathe. They wait. You step forward, holding the spiral crystal in your palm. The reflection moves, but not with you. It acts first. It raises its hand, mirroring yours, and speaks a single word. Almost. The surface of the glass ripples. The mirror is no longer a reflection. It is a threshold. The dragon shifts above you. The ceiling trembles. The shelves sway. Far off, the singing pebbles begin humming again, wild and high, like warning bells turned into melody. The crystal in your hand pulses. The mirror opens. And just before you step through, you hear the dragon's voice again. Do not forget what I gave up to dream. You step forward. Through the mirror. Into something that was waiting for you long before you arrived. Crossing through the mirror is nothing like passing through glass. It's like being remembered. The moment you step forward, everything folds like time creasing gently around you. There is no lurch, no chill, no shatter of light, just the faint scent of parchment, pine, and ozone. The air thickens for a moment, as if you've stepped into a sentence that hasn't finished being written. Then you are elsewhere. The world on the other side is quiet, not empty, just deeply, watchfully still. The light is gray-violet, the kind of light that exists only during eclipses or dreams you half wake from. Around you, trees with paper leaves, bending in slow motion. Paths that seem to spiral and straighten at once. And above you, a sky like old ink, stormy, soft, and full of waiting. And seated beneath a gnarled tree at the center of it all, a figure. Massive, wreathed in steam. You know him before you speak. You've seen his breath curl through the cavern ceiling, felt his dreaming weight shake the moss beneath your boots. The dragon. Only less, or perhaps more. Not fully awake, but not fully dreaming either. Half risen. One eye open. And watching you. You approach with care. The dragon is coiled in a strange way. His body seems too large for the space. But the space yields to him. Bits of dream and thought drift through the air like soft snow, a brass doorknob, a tattered glove, a broken hourglass that still counts time backward. You stop a respectful distance away. Hello, you say, softly, The dragon rumbles. The sound does not pass through the air, it arrives directly behind your ribs, as if you've known it since childhood. The one who listens. The dragon lifts his head. Steam curls from his nostrils, perfumed with old paper and ink. You've been breathing the hoard, tasting its silence, threading its stories. I've been cataloging, you say. He huffs a sound that might be amusement. You've been invited. You take a breath. Why now? The dragon's eye blinks. Slow and gold, because the door has grown curious, and my dreaming can no longer hold the memory still. He shifts slightly. Behind him, the paper leaf trees sigh. Do you know what a hoard is, little archivist? You nod. A collection of things. Wrong. A curl of smoke drifts from his throat. A hoard is not things. A hoard is wanting. What we long to hold even after forgetting why. He leans closer. I dreamed the hoard into place. To sleep. To soften. But something is knocking now. Something shaped like a mirror and a name. Your chest tightens. The reflection. It has no self, only desire. It mimics memory. and memory is what I built the hoard to protect. You kneel because standing feels incorrect. You dreamed this place. I dreamed myself apart, piece by piece, into riddles and relics, into bells and pebbles and shelves that rearrange themselves. The dragon exhales long and soft. Around you, the landscape shifts. A chorus of echoing voices of your own, Nestas, and others you do not know drift past on the wind. But now I stir, and stirring means choosing. I cannot hold the door and open it both. You feel the weight of those words settle like frost on your collarbone. What do you want me to do? The dragon closes his eyes, When he opens them again, something inside you flickers a match caught mid-light. You are my unfinished thought, my human punctuation, the question I never dared end. You blink. That's a lot of pressure. He huffs again. Smoke swirls like laughter. You are here. That is enough. He shifts again, massive limbs moving with the slowness of continents, and produces a small object from beneath his chest. A charm. Round. Metal. Covered in etchings you recognize from the singing pebbles. He places it before you, careful as thunder holding a flower. Take this. It holds the last note, the one I could not dream into being. You pick it up. It thrums softly. Not a hum, not a tone, but a silence with intention. The reflection will seek the door, but it cannot open what it does not name. This charm will name it true, will keep the shape from slipping. Why? You clutch it tightly. The dragon exhales again, more slowly this time. You feel the hoard tremble somewhere behind the sky. Soon, I must wake, and when I do, the hoard will forget how to hold itself. Then what happens, you ask? Then you must decide what part of it lives on. There is a long silence. You sense he's offered all he can. Not answers, but enough so. The paper trees begin to bend inward, curling like pages nearing the end of a chapter. You step back. Will I see you again, you ask. Only if you forget me. Only if I become legend again. You smile, though your throat is tight. That seems unfair, does it? The dragon blinks slowly. Oh, most things worth remembering are. Then the charm glows. The ground shakes. And the dragon, with a sound like a door being locked gently, lowers his head once more. He dreams again, but the dreaming has changed. The sky cracks. The ink begins to fade. And the mirror behind you pulls gently, firmly, like a tide returning. You step backward into it, back through glass, back into the hoard. Just in time to hear Nesta shout, "It's here." You return to the hoard, breathless, though you don't recall running. The mirror behind you seals without sound. Its surface flattens into cold glass, a single breath of frost curling across it, like a signature left in silence. Nesta is waiting, halfway between fear and fury. She's dropped her lantern. Its salt crystals lie scattered on the floor like broken stars. Her voice trembles as she points down the corridor. It's walking the hoard. The reflection. Not a ghost. Not a shadow. But a half-born echo that mimics everything you are, except choice. Except restraint, It found the Coro Ward passage. She says, "It's headed for the vault we never name." Your hand closes around the charm the dragon gave you. It pulses with silent weight, a name-shaped silence. You feel the resonance of it inside your ribs, like a heartbeat from something you haven't become yet. The vault. The one at the center. The one even the dragon feared to dream fully. You run. The hoard makes way for you not in straight lines, but in permission. Shelves bend aside. Carpets roll themselves flat. The air grows denser, richer, older, Nesta follows, murmuring under her breath, syllables made of stone and thread. As you pass the singing pebbles, they do not sing. They vibrate in unison, tense, muted, as if holding their breath. And there at the end of the corridor, once lined with paper stars, you see the vault. A door, plain as bone. No hinges, no keyhole. Just a handle made of braided glass and shadow. Oh, the reflection stands before it. Exactly your shape. Same face. Same clothes. Same breath, except it doesn't fog the air. It doesn't turn when you arrive. It presses its palm to the door. And the door begins to open. You shout, "Stop." The reflection pauses. Then, slowly, it looks over its shoulder. And for the first time, you see its eyes fully, too. They are not yours. Oh, they are older. Oh, smoothed by centuries of forgetting. Pale with the shine of mirrors polished too often. There's no malice in them, but no mercy either. Just wanting You step closer. It tilts its head. The vault groans. A pulse of wind escapes, scented like wild thyme, rust, and the hush before snowfall. Your skin prickles. Nesta gasps. The final object. She whispers. It's waking. You say, we don't name it. The reflection blinks. It speaks for the first time. Its voice is your voice, layered slightly out of time. Not naming something doesn't keep it asleep. It only forgets it knows how to rise. The vault creaks wider. And beyond it, you glimpse the object. Small. Hovering. Wrapped in a cloth that unwinds itself as you watch. A faint hum rises a lullaby with no melody, only suggestion. The air around it bends, resisting form. You feel the name of it brush against your lips unspoken, but dangerously close. If you name it, the Hoard will remember. And if it remembers, it may no longer need the dragon. Or you. The reflection takes a step closer. You do, too. Your hand burns where the dragon's charm rests. It pulses again. You hold it forward. The reflection recoils not in pain, but recognition. It knows the silence the charm carries, knows the weight of the word it cannot say. You speak softly, but with full intent. This does not belong to you. The reflection doesn't answer. It turns back to the vault and reaches again. Nesta steps forward. If it touches the object, you don't let her finish. You run. And just as the reflection's hand nears the cloth, you throw the charm. It lands gently. No crash. No flash. Just stillness. The kind of stillness you find at the bottom of a lake when the world above forgets you're there. The charm unfolds in lightless motion, and then silence. Total. Even the reflection stops. The cloth rewinds itself. The vault door eases shut. Not with resistance, but relief, and the reflection turns, mouth open, and vanishes. Nesta falls to her knees. You don't move. The charm returns to your palm, colder now. Fainter. You know it's spent. But the final object remains sealed, and unnamed. And sleeping. Later, in the chamber that once housed the singing Pebbles, you and Nesta sit cross-legged on the floor. Neither of you speaks. The Hoard is quieter than you've ever known it, Still alive, but no longer restless. Like a song that has exhaled its final note and now simply waits for silence to do its part. Nesta pours tea. You ask her, what would have happened if it touched the object? She hesitates. Then says, it would have told it what it was, and it would have believed what. You nod slowly, and you think of the dragon's words. Do not forget what I gave up to dream. You rise. There is one more entry to write. Item 0167 redacted. Description redacted. Notes not to be named. Not to be described. Not to be remembered in full. Location vault null. Sealed. Ooh. Key phrase stored in silence. Sealed in story. Archivist's note. We protect what we never finish. You wake to the scent of smoke, but this time it's not a warning. It's farewell. Soft tendrils drift through the hoard like ribboned dusk. Not rising, not choking, just wandering like a storyteller folding their final page. Your desk is right where it should be, though the moss underfoot has begun to recede, curling back into the stone. The singing pebbles no longer hum. They rest quiet. Heavy, complete. Nesta greets you with a nod and a steaming mug. Her scarf is pinned properly for once, and there's an odd softness to her eyes. It's time, she says. You know without asking what she means. The hoard is settling, not fading, not falling apart, just finishing its thought, Books close themselves on half sentences and sigh. Shelves rotate slowly into the walls. Lamps dim, one by one. There's no panic, no alarm. Just the peculiar hush of a story that has told itself thoroughly, and now prepares to sleep without dreams. You pass through the chambers one final time. The stairwell made of feathers is gone, replaced with a corridor of folded maps. The mirror, that mirror, is gone. No broken glass, no smoke left behind. Just a faint handprint on the floor. Yours, and not, at the vault of unfinished things. The door is now sealed not with locks or charms, but with memory itself. As you near, you forget what the knob felt like, what the hinges looked like. You try to recall the object in way, and your thoughts slide sideways pleasantly, purposefully, protected. You're no longer the keeper of it, just the witness, and that is enough. Nesta walks you to the edge of the hoard. It doesn't have a proper exit. It grows one when someone is ready to leave. P. Today, the exit is a hallway made of sunlight and old timetables. You laugh at the sight of it. It knows I'm terrible at punctuality. Nesta shrugs. It likes to tease. Sometimes it's part dragon. After all, ew. She hands you a pouch soft leather, cinched with starlight-colored string. Inside, the singing pebbles. Not all 12, just 3. Each faintly warm, each humming a note you haven't heard before. For when something needs remembering, she says, you bow your head, and you. I stay, she replies, until the Hoard forgets me. Then I'll know it's time, too. At the door, you pause. Not from fear, from fullness. A sense of having carried something precious and being ready to set it down gently. Behind you, the dragon still sleeps. The charm lies where you placed it, nestled in the Hoard's deepest breath. And the story you helped finish has already begun to root itself in other echoes' quiet corners, twilight dreams, late-night whispers between strangers who've never met, but speak of doors that hum and shelves that breathe. You step into the light. The world outside is just as you left it, rainy. A bit muddled, full of brass clocks that don't quite tick right and streets that curve when they feel like it. You aren't entirely sure what day it is. But when you breathe in, you taste ink, moss, and lavender. You carry that stillness with you. One evening, weeks later, you find yourself at a tea shop near a train station that doesn't appear on any map. You sit by the window, sketching out what you remember. Not everything, just the way a spiral stair hums when it's trying not to be noticed. The weight of silence that tastes like dragon breath. The look Nesta gave you when she pretended not to be worried and failed beautifully. And then, a flicker outside the window. Smoke. Just a wisp, curling upward in a question mark. You turn to look. No fire. No lantern. No pipe. Just the faint outline of a coat brushing the fog. And impossibly a wink. Quick. silver. Familiar. Tuh. You smile. Not surprised. Only grateful, ho. You take out one of the singing pebbles. Place it on the windowsill. It hums once low. Thoughtful. Then falls silent again. The hoard is far away now, but not gone. It never really was a place, was it? It was the memory of wanting, the record of what we feared to forget, And now it dreams you back whenever you let it. In story. In silence, in the weight of a charm you never named.